Welcome to Cover Book Beat. I'm your host, Roger Nichols. This is author interview number 865, and it will be seriously fun. Our guest today, Chip Leighton, really had no idea when he started posting funny exchanges with his kids on TikTok in 2021 that it would turn into an internet phenomenon. Videos have now garnered over 250 million views. Now, he's gathered some of the best and funniest for his debut book, What Time is Noon, is subtitled Hilarious Texts, Ridiculous Feedback, and Not So Subtle Advice from Teenagers. What Time is Noon was an actual question asked in the Leighton household. So think about it for a second. You'll realize the absurdity. With all the tension and strife in the world, we need some humorous absurdity, and What Time is Noon is chock full of laugh out loud anecdotes, silly quizzes, and playful charts. We're very pleased to welcome a world class chronicler of the absurd, Chip Leighton.
Well, thank you for having me. That was a great introduction. I appreciate it.
Thank you. What was the trigger that caused you to say, hey, people might enjoy this on TikTok?
Yeah, well, I started on TikTok like early 2021, and it took me a while to actually figure out what people liked. After 6 months, I had like 17 followers. I was actually going to delete my account, and then I did a post on marriage that went viral. Then a couple of weeks later, I did the first teenager post. It was like funny text messages for my daughter, and it really caught on, and there were like a lot of comments from other parents like, hey, did you steal my phone? This sounds just like what my kid texts me. And over time it just turned into this community where people now from like all over the world send me their crazy questions and texts that they get from their teens, and that's mostly what I feature, and eventually led to the book. So it's been pretty wild.
Is this a point where you can quit your job and just do this full time?
Yeah, so I've been I'm a veteran of the corporate world. I worked in the corporate world for 25 years, and I actually did leave last year, in part to be able to write this book and to be able to do some other things related to the platform. So it's been a wild kind of next chapter in my life. I started this whole thing when I was 50. So when I left the corporate job, my daughter started referring to me as the unemployed middle-aged TikToker. So I can't dispute the facts, but
There you go. Kids will see right through you every time. So,
yeah.
speaking of the kids, have they forgiven you or are they enjoying the notoriety?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've got the different phases. Like early on, my daughter was like claimed she was responsible for like 80% of my content, which I don't think that was ever true. But their big feedback now is because I feature mostly other people's stuff. They're like, you got to make it much clearer. This is not all from us. Like all my friends think I send all these messages, and you gotta clear that up. So these are mostly from other people.
And I think that might be responsible for the fact that at the end of the book, you actually go out and say, look, my kids are okay. They're good students. They're doing well, etc. They're not all like this. So, did they make
Yeah.
you put that in?
No, they didn't. But that's the thing. You can't, people make all kinds of assumptions just based on a little, a phrase they see on a social media post. And it's like nobody knows what the relationship is between, parent and kid, like in the house. And that's one of the things I believe is like kids should be able to have a little bit of a different personality, like at home, and be able to kind of like push the boundaries of humor and stuff like that. Like my daughter will kind of like fake boss me around. Like she'll say like, make me pancakes, do it, but like she would never say that to another adults or, at school or anything like that. And so that's a bit of how it works.
I, I I want to get to some of the content, but first I have to find a little bit more about it. I mean, there are a number of collections of funny kids saying, going back to Art Linkletter's Kids Say the Darndest Thing in
Right, right.
1957. Why do you think they've latched onto yours so much? What is the magic sauce here?
I mean, the first thing is teenagers are funny. Like they just have a way with words and just a way of being kind of like straight to the point. Like, I mean, at one point, like early on, I was telling my daughter, like, you haven't sent me anything funny in a while. She was like, just start making it up. And I'm like, I couldn't make this stuff up. It's just not, you can't do it. And so I think part of it's that. And then part of it's just like, like I said, like the universality of it. It's like people relate to it. So they'll send a post to their kid or their partner or whatever, and so it kind of rolls from there, but they're funny.
My wife said, be sure to ask him what his favorite one is.
Oh yeah, it's so hard to boil down. I mean, there's one thing that gets a lot of attention is like how does eating cold turkey help you quit smoking, so there's that. I've always liked the did grandma have kids. It's a simple one, but it makes you think. There's a whole lot around instructions to parents on how not to embarrass them. So like, my friends are almost here. Make sure dad stays in the basement. That sort of thing. There's a lot of dad references in some of these. So it's tough to narrow down. I like the chapter on driving. There's so many crazy driving ones. Like I got a flat tire. What do I do? Call AARP. Uh, you know.
Or
Yeah.
at least they're not mixing it up with AA, which is, I don't really.
Yeah, that'd be worse. AARP could probably handle that
Yeah,
call,
it
you know.
probably could. My favorite of that category is my friend helped me replace the brakes, but we didn't replace the back ones because I don't back up that often. I mean, it
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
makes sense, but that's the thing that's so fun about it.
Almost. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the whole the tone of the most of the driving ones is like, parents are freaking out because their kids driving them, and then when they freak out, it makes the kids stress out. So there's a lot of like just stop freaking out every time we almost crash, or stop gasping every time I almost flip the car.
There's a lot of you call it phantom braking that goes on during that process. I
Yes,
remember it's been some
yes,
years ago now. The one that kind of struck me is the generational differences. Now, some of this stuff wouldn't, or Linklater wouldn't have been able to ask about in the 50s because they didn't have such things like they say 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. How do I know where the clock is? They've never
yeah,
seen a clock face. They don't know what that's
right.
all about. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time thing. I mean, obviously the title of the book, noon is something that a lot of kids don't know what it is. And if you use a phrase like, quarter after or something like that, they'll be like, "What? Just speak English. What are you even talking about?"
Um, how does your wife feel about all this?
She loves it. I mean, she's a parent of teens just like I am, and she's been a great partner and supportive of me as I sort of started this as a side hustle, and she's really funny herself. I feature on my social media channel like funny romantic texts from from my wife. So there's a lot of marriage content I do as well, and yeah, she's great.
Is that book number two?
Who knows? There's definitely a book number two. I'm trying to figure out exactly what that is now, but yeah, there's I do this list of I call it things I've apologized to my wife for online, and it's the basic stuff that I get feedback on, but for some reason I keep making the same mistakes, like breathing or chewing, yawning, sneezing, all that
Making
kind of stuff.
make it existing where they can see you. Yes,
Yeah,
drop me
yeah,
off a half a block from school so that again, yeah, all that good
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
One of the things that intrigued me about it is that this did not stop when they went off to college, and you have some
Mm.
section in there about that. And the one I liked is so, how do I get my clothes out of the washing machines? Do I just reach in with my hands?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't tip it over. The hands is good. Yeah, you get a lot of good laundry techs from college. Yeah, there's a lot of they use interesting terminology. They're like, so at first I turn the knob and then I pour the two sauces in, and yeah, when they get to college, like laundry's a big one, and then mailing a letter is a big one. They don't know what's going on with stamps. Like if I use multiple stamps, do I layer or put them side by side?
That's great. And I like the one where what's the woman's version of fraternity? A maternity.
Yeah, yeah,
That again is one of those yeah, okay, that's right. It doesn't quite right. Yeah, yeah, you don't,
right,
yeah,
right.
perhaps.
But it's
Okay.
you can't argue with it, I guess. Yeah.
It's like, where, I just, do you have t-shirts and things made up? Do you have merch that goes with this?
I do have a little bit of merch. You can get it at off my website, thelaytonshow.com, or from my socials. But yeah, like one of the shirts is like one of my daughter's famous text messages was like, "Mom hasn't stopped rage vacuuming since you left." So there's a I'd rather be rage vacuuming shirt and some other
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
That's a useful term. And some of us
Yes.
have seen this in action. So we know
Yeah,
what you're
yeah.
talking.
No, I've heard from plenty of people that are like, yeah, that's I love I love to rage vacuum. Yeah, if you're tends to happen in my house when I'm taking a nap, and that vacuum cleaner comes in at high speed.
Some of the other things that I do, because you've got a lot of categories in here. One of the categories I enjoy is money
Mm.
category. And the
Ooh,
one
yeah.
where he says, or I don't know which one of the kids asked you, he says, I thought W2 was a band.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. When they fill out their taxes for the first time, you get crazy questions like that. You're like, "Hey, did I have I ever worked for the railroad?" It's like, I think you would have remembered that. Yeah, yeah, money terminology. I heard one the other day. It was this mom's started a new job and she told her kid she signed up for a 401k, and kid was like, "Well, how far is that in miles?" Yeah. So,
That's great.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Which reminds me about one of the jokes about the only good thing about the drug trade is it taught our kids the metric system. So sorry about that. I had to throw that one in.
There you
Um,
go.
one of the things that I also found interesting is what I call unclear on the concept, which a lot of this is.
Mm.
You're right. Multiple stories of two teens getting into a car accident, exchanging their health insurance information.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually quite common, and yeah, they don't get the terminology sometimes. There's one girl that calls her insurance copay a cover charge, which that's actually a pretty good description, honestly.
It actually is. It's that insight from a different viewpoint, the fresh eyes looking at.
Exactly, exactly.
Um, I just you seem like a fun guy all the way through. Were you always this funny before all the success, or you were just one of those hard driving corporate dudes?
No, this was definitely a different turn for me. I mean, people are like, "Oh, well, did you ever want to be a stand-up comedian or whatever?" And yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I've always had a good sense of humor, I think, but I was just kind of fortunate this kind of came along and developed as I was sort of getting later into my corporate career. And I mean, I did a little theater in high school, so I had a little performance bug, I guess, and I've always liked sort of like I took a filmmaking class once that I really liked, and so kind of putting together stories on either in the book or online is something I enjoy doing. And so it's been a great sort of new adventure in my 50s now. So it's been fun.
I just have to ask because I'm an old radio guy. Do you ever consider you doing any voice work? You have a really nice voice for it.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I have gotten some feedback. No, I haven't. Maybe that'll be the third chapter. I don't know, but
Yeah,
it helps with interviews anyway.
it certainly does. I mean, you come across really nicely in that. So when when this goes viral as a book, then what goes on? Are you casting the movie yet?
Not yet, but I think, yeah, I'm trying to just bring something positive into the world and give people some moments of laughter and coming together on things they share in common. So, it's been fun doing that online, and now there's the book, and I'm sort of exploring other ways to do that. I have been doing some live performances as well, which is another totally new adventure for me. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a mix of like some stand up and some sort of sharing some of this crowdsource stuff. And I use like a digital screen and have some visuals and stuff. So I'm sort of figuring out where that goes. I did a performance at like a family weekend for a college recently, and that's like a perfect audience for me, like parents of college students. So I'm looking to do more of that kind of stuff. So it's been it's been fun.
When you do those, whether you got parents and college students together, do you see cringing going back and forth between them?
A little bit. I mean, my audience is mostly parents, but I do think teens appreciate it. But like when I would mention certain things, you can kind of see like an exchange of looks, like, "Oh, you do that," or "You did that," kind of a thing. So yeah.
Well, one of the things that you write, since the book is about finding joy in the chaos, it feels to me like you found your joy in the chaos.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm very lucky to be doing this, at this point in my life, and to have such good, feedback from people, and to share being so generous to share their own kind of stories. So it's been great.
And that leads to the next question is what do you want the readers to take away from them when they close the book at the end?
Yeah, I mean, really just like I probably said before, like just to celebrate like teen humor, and not it's not about, making fun of anybody or feeling, bad about parenting. It's just to kind of celebrate those moments in life. I think humor just kind of cuts through stress, and makes makes the day a little more positive. And so that's literally it. I think it's a great book to even just like keep out, and you could, pick it up at a random time. And somebody mentioned to me earlier today, like, "Oh, they should sell this at the airport so you can just grab it before you get on a
Uh,
flight and just have a fun time reading it on a flight." So
Good marketing idea. You
yeah.
may need to tell it to your people. And by the way, you do a great job on these interviews. I can tell you're having fun. We want to make sure we mention all the place they can get a hold of you because there'd be a few old people like myself who were not aware of your TikTok presence. So
Yeah.
let's tell them where to find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media, so TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. It's The Leighton Show, Leighton. I have a website, thelaytonshow.com. And the book again is called What Time Is Noon. So you can find that, pretty much anywhere you can find books, but I have it linked from my social pages and my website as well.
I thank you so much for being with us today. Our guest today, Chip Leighton. The book is What Time Is Noon. It's hilarious. Full recommendation, 5.5 stars from this guy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Awesome. Thank you. I enjoyed it.